There are moments in the Imperium that no litany can prepare you for. A battle brother's life is measured not in years, but in scars burned into memory. Juan, a scripture of flesh and steel. Behind the ceramite helm, behind the vox-filtered growl of his voice, lies something rarely considered: the ceaseless rhythm of survival, the unrelenting pull of devotion, and the weight of being shaped into more than human, yet never allowed to be anything less. To live inside the eyes of a battle brother is to walk the razor edge between faith and silence, between the Emperor's will and the abyss that waits should it falter. And it is in those unguarded instants, when the bolt gun smolders, when the squad lies in ruins, when the stars themselves burn like dying embers, that truth leaks through. This is not a story of glory, as the Munitorum would proclaim. It is the pulse of life inside the eyes of a space marine, a rhythm most will never hear, yet all are ruled by. If you value stories that carry you to the very edge of the Imperium's light, where the veil between devotion and despair grows thin, then remain with us. Share this chronicle, let it echo beyond this screen, and subscribe so the silence of forgotten battles does not consume these memories. The first taste is not blood, but hunger. Not hunger as mortals know it, the dull ache of an empty stomach, or the thirst for water denied. No, this is the kind that burns deeper, gnawing at marrow, whispering in the veins of a body The battle brother feels it, even here, sealed within the steel womb of the void ship, far from the stench of a battlefield. His physiology is a fortress, a cathedral of engineered perfection, yet it is still chained by need. Gene seed cannot erase that truth. It can only transform it. Hunger lingers. Hunger waits. Hunger teaches. The rations distributed by the serfs. Taste of chalk and iron. Nutrient bricks designed by the Adeptus Mechanicus, dense with fuel, but barren of satisfaction. They are consumed without complaint, swallowed down like liturgy. But no bite ever silences the ache. It festers beneath the augmented flesh. The memory of a body that was once human, but is no longer allowed to remember what fullness feels like. Each mouthful is duty disguised as sustenance, and duty does not sat. It demands. It empties. He recalls the first days after implantation, when hunger was sharpened by change, the black carapace fusing into his skin, the secondary heart punching irregular rhythms into his chest, the acid of altered organs reshaping his every nerve. He had known starvation before, as a boy pressed into the cages of recruitment, but that was a mortal kind of hunger, that could be endured with gritted teeth, with the promise of sleep to dull it. This new hunger was eternal, stretching from bone to shadow, no sleep deep enough to bury it. The apothecaries had told him it would fade, that the body would adapt, that need itself would become weaponized into focus. But they never spoke of the truth. Adaptation was not relief, only acceptance. He sits now in the dim-lit bay, the void ship groaning around him. Bulkheads creak, as though the vessel were some immense beast, shifting in slumber. The air tastes of oil, copper, and incense, a mixture of devotion and decay. The hunger moves with him, unseen but never absent, a companion in silence. Around him, brothers tend to their armor, polishing ceramite, anointing bolters with sacred oils, whispering catechisms into steel. None speak of what festers inside. They do not need to. The silence between them is fluent, and within that silence, hunger binds them as surely as gene seed does. There are stimulants, of course, bitter draughts issued by the apothecarian, liquids that burn the throat and flood the mind with false clarity. They mask the emptiness for a time, driving the body forward like a machine wound too tight. But when they fade, the ache returns heavier, like a tide that cannot be resisted. Some brothers drink more than commanded, straining the limits of their organs, until veins throb and vision blurs. The chaplains call it weakness, but weakness is not the truth. The truth is need, and need is not sin. It is the reminder that even in the Emperor's chosen, the vessel is still flesh. He remembers the first campaign after crossing the Rubicon Primaris. The wounds had been deep, the organs reforged, the body broken and reborn across the edge of life and death. Hunger then had been sharper than pain, as though the body demanded repayment for every stitch of sinew regrown. He had devoured rations until the serfs could carry no more, yet nothing silenced it. And when battle came, it was hunger that steadied his hands. Each trigger pull, each swing of the chainsword, was not only for duty, but for release. Killing was sustenance of a kind. The roar of the bolter, the spray of gore, the screams cut short each one drowned the ache for a heartbeat. Not food, but release. The void ship tilts slightly as it glides through the warp. The battle brother feels the shift in his gut, in the way his organs protest, in the way the gnawing emptiness stretches deeper. He presses a gauntleted hand against his abdomen, not to soothe it, there is no soothing it but to acknowledge it. His armor is painted with the sigils of his chapter, each line a testament to devotion, but beneath it beats a truth no heraldry can erase. He is not machine, he is not angel, he is hunger wrapped in steel. The chaplain's voice breaks the silence, a low growl over the vox. Words of faith, reminders of the Emperor's gaze, litanies meant to bind the mind against the whispers of the warp outside the hull. The brother bows his head in obedience, mouthing the words in unison. Yet even here, as devotion burns on his tongue, the hunger gnaws, faith fills the spirit. Rations fuel the body, neither touch the void within. Perhaps that is the design. Perhaps hunger is no flaw but a weapon, sharpened into permanence. For a warrior who is never satisfied is a warrior who always advances. A brother who never feels whole is one who forever seeks, and seeking leads him again and again to battle, to obedience, to the Emperor's will. The body may ache, the veins may thrum, but hunger drives him where comfort never could. The void ship shudders, a tremor rolling through its decks like a groan from the abyss. The brothers rise in unison, not from alarm, but from instinct. Armor locks, bolters hum, eyes narrow. The battle brother feels the hunger surge, awakened by the nearness of war. His secondary heart stutters, then quickens. The ache is not diminished, never will be, but it sharpens into clarity. Soon, perhaps, release will come. Soon, the void within will be fed not by rations, not by drafts, but by battle itself. For now, he waits. For now, the hunger rules. Astartes do not sleep, as men do. The body obeys cycles of rest, yes, but it is not rest in the mortal sense. There are no dreams, no gentle surrender to unconsciousness, no drifting into warmth and memory. For the battle brother, slumber is a state of waiting, a suspension of vigilance, never surrender. His eyes may close, his organs may slow, but the senses remain taut, like strings stretched against breaking. And always, the bolter lies within reach, its presence heavier than the steel of the bunk beneath him. The chamber of war is vast, its walls ribbed with adamantium arches, its air thick with incense smoke and machine oil. Hundreds of warriors lie in serried ranks, each armored giant confined to a cell of silence. Yet that silence is deceptive. It thrums with the pressure of unsaid things, with the faint clicks of auto senses recalibrating, with the breath of gen-forged lungs exhaling in unison. And beneath it all, the weapons murmur. Bolters, chainswords, plasma coils, all whisper in their own tongues of machine spirit, each awaiting the next time they will awaken. He lies on his slab, helm removed, the raw lines of scars exposed to the cold air. His hand rests against the casing of his bolter, fingers tracing the edges of the Aquila stamped into its surface. The weapon is more than steel. It has tasted his hands in countless battles, felt the rhythm of his trigger pulls, known the recoil of his grip. It has become an extension of his body, a second voice with which he speaks the Emperor's will. He does not dream of past battles. He relives them through the weight of this weapon beside him. The memory of each kill is imprinted into its machine spirit, etched deeper than any scratch upon its casing. In moments when the body drifts close to unconsciousness, the border between thought and reality blurs. He remembers the kick of the bolter against his pauldron as if it were still happening. He feels the vibration in his bones as the rounds detonate, each one a miniature sun extinguishing a life. The sounds return to him: the thunder of fire, the chorus of detonations, the silence afterward more deafening than the roar. And then he opens his eyes, hand clamped tighter on the grip of his weapon, certain he had been firing even in slumber. The serfs whisper that the Astartes sleep like statues, unmoving and eternal, their stillness proof of their perfection. But they do not know the truth. Stillness is not peace. It is vigilance, a taut wire drawn across the void between battlefields. The body rests, but the spirit does not. The spirit waits, coiled around steel. There is no oath between warrior and weapon, no ceremony of loyalty. Bonds are not forged in ritual, but in the nights like these, where silence presses and the bolter is the only thing that breathes with him. He remembers battles where brothers fell, their weapons dropped into the dust, their spirits extinguished in flame. Those bolters were reclaimed, reforged, given to another. Steel outlives flesh, and in that truth lies the bond. He is not simply keeper of his bolter. He is its current bearer, its vessel, its continuation. To abandon it would be betrayal, not only of duty, but of self. On campaigns when supply lines broke and rations dwindled, it was not hunger that gnawed the hardest. It was the knowledge that ammunition ran thin. To an Astartes, to be without his bolter is to be without voice, without identity. Brothers will fight with blade, with fist, with teeth if need be, but all know it is the bolter that defines them. Its fire is the sound of the Imperium itself, echoing across worlds. A thunderous proclamation that the Emperor's hand has reached even here. He recalls one siege above all others. The choking smoke of a hive in flames, his bolter running dry mid-battle. For 3 days, he wielded the weapon as a club, smashing skulls with its casing, the machine spirit screaming in silence, as if insulted by such crude use. And yet, when resupply came, and the first shell chambered again, the bond felt deeper. They had survived one another. They had endured. In that endurance, a truth revealed itself. The bolter is not merely a tool. It is a brother of steel. Now, aboard the void ship, he closes his eyes, but does not drift. He listens to the faint clicks and hums of the weapon beside him. The chaplains say each bolter has a machine spirit that must be appeased with oil, prayer, and purity seals. He knows this to be true, though not in the way they preach it. The spirit is not a ghost of technology, but the echo of every hand that ever fired it. Every kill that ever thundered through its barrel. It remembers, and in remembering, it binds itself to him. There are whispers among the mortal crew that Astartes never sleep at all, that their eyes remain open even in rest, glowing faintly like the lenses of their helms. Perhaps this is true for some. Perhaps it is rumor born of fear. He does not know. What he does know is this: when his hand closes around the bolter's grip in the half-light of silence, he feels less alone. The ship groans. The stars shift. The warp claws at the hull. But steel remains, and so the bond deepens, not in oaths, but in silence. Not in victories, but in waiting. Dreams bleed into memories, memories into echoes, echoes into the restless hum of the bolter's spirit beside him. And when battle comes again, he will rise not as a man clutching a weapon, but as two halves of one will, flesh and steel, brother and bolter, voice and echo. For now, the chamber is quiet. For now, the steel sleeps beside him. No chapter survives without loss. It is not an exception but a law, written deeper than any gene seed, heavier than any scripture. The battle brother has learned this not from words carved into purity seals, but from faces burned into memory. faces that no longer exist, save as fractures in his own reflection. They were men once, bound by oath and steel, and now they are ash, scattered across 1,000 battlefields. They burned, they bled, they obeyed, and he carries them still. The dead do not speak, but they linger. Every plate of his ceramite bears scratches that no artisan could polish away, lines that catch the light like scars. Some of those lines were carved by blades, others by shrapnel, others by fire. But beneath them lie the fingerprints of brothers who will never rise again. Their blood mixed with oil in the recesses of his greaves. Their ashes were pressed into the seams of his armor by serfs who scrubbed, prayed, and reapplied the aquila. And though the surface shines, he feels them within, weight that cannot be scraped away. He does not name them aloud. Names fade, too easily consumed by the administratum's endless ledgers, but their absence is louder than their presence ever was. He remembers one in particular, Brother Kale, a warrior whose laughter was rare but sharp, echoing like bolter fire in the barracks. They fought side by side on a manufacturum world, choking black smoke, clinging to their armor as orcs poured through the forges. Kale's chainsword jammed, clogged with viscera. In that instant, he saw his brother swallowed by a tide of green, ripped from his side, lost beneath the crush. There was no retrieval, only the scream, the spray, the silence. When the battle ended, all that remained of Kale was the smell of burned flesh and the melted teeth embedded in the steel floor. Yet even now, decades later, when the void ship groans in the dark, he hears that same short, sharp laugh, not as memory, but as fracture. Another face returns unbidden, Brother Malkai, whose discipline was sharper than any blade. On the ice world of Fenros, they advanced together across glaciers that cracked beneath the weight of their boots. Enemy fire shattered the ice, swallowing Malkai whole. He fell into black water, armor dragging him down, bolter lost to the current. The squad pressed forward, for there was no time to stop, no rope to throw, no hand strong enough to resist the pull. The last he saw of Malkai was a gauntlet breaking the surface, fingers reaching for air that never came. Sometimes, when he closes his eyes, he feels the phantom tug of that gauntlet pulling him down too, into waters colder than death. The Codex Astartes demands efficiency, demands that the dead be recorded, their war gear salvaged, their gene seed reclaimed, if possible. The ritual is cold, precise, unyielding. But for those who survive, the process does not end with reports and records. The dead become ghosts pressed into the corners of memory, their absence shaping the living. The chaplains tell them this is strength, that carrying the fallen is a mark of devotion. Perhaps it is, but in the silence between battles, when bolters are silent and the ship's engines hum like distant drums, the weight feels less like devotion and more like suffocation. Every chapter has rituals to honor its dead. Some raise statues, some carve names into stone, some leave helmets upon spires where the wind can howl through the vox grills. His chapter does not. They take the ashes of their fallen, ground fine by fire and time, and press them into the ceramite of their brother's armor. Not visibly, not in symbols or inscriptions. Invisible, hidden. The dead carried into war upon the living, unseen but never absent. When he dons his armor, he does not only carry the Emperor's blessing. He carries the dust of Kale, of Malkai, of all the brothers who no longer stand beside him. Their ashes grind into his skin, their silence becomes his voice. It is not ceremony, it is inevitability. Sometimes, in the heat of battle, when bolters roar and chainswords sing, he feels a hand at his shoulder. No one is there. The squad is scattered, the enemy advancing, fire streaking across the sky. But still, that phantom hand presses into the curve of his pauldron, steadying him. He knows it cannot be real. He knows it is memory, trauma, lingering stress woven into muscle. And yet, in that moment, he fights harder, as if the dead refuse to let him fall. Not yet. not while his lungs still burn with borrowed breath. The worst is not remembering the fallen. The worst is forgetting. Faces blur with time. Voices fade. What was once distinct becomes a haze of blood and smoke. He fears that one day he will forget Kale's laugh, Malkai's discipline, the countless others whose ashes weigh upon him. He fears their sacrifice will dissolve into dust, as meaningless as the stars that burn unseen. And so he whispers to himself in silence, not names, but fragments. A sound, a gesture, a breath, tiny anchors against the tide of forgetting. The void ship hums around him, its engines pulling them deeper into the warp. His brothers sit in silence, some at prayer, others in maintenance, others in restless stillness. None speak of the dead. To speak is unnecessary. Each one bears the same weight, carried differently, but always carried. In battle, they are united by oath and fire. In silence, they are united by absence, and so he carries them, unseen, but never absent. They burned, they bled, they obeyed. He is the fracture that remains, a mirror cracked into pieces, each shard reflecting a face no longer here. And when his time comes, when his body fails, when his ashes are ground into the ceramite of another's armor, he knows he will not vanish. He will remain, as all his brothers do, pressed into silence, remembered in fracture. The chapter survives. The faces do not, but the ash endures. Faith is not a word, it is vibration. It is the tremor that stirs in marrow when hymns rise through cathedral-lined decks, when the air itself seems to shudder with devotion. For the battle brother, faith does not begin with choice. It begins with rhythm. The chaplains speak, and their voices echo like thunder, carried through vox grills and vaulted metal. Yet beneath the words lies something deeper, a hum that claws at bone, that presses behind the eyes, that refuses to be ignored. To hear the Emperor's voice is not to hear a sound. It is to feel the Astronomican's pulse burning behind the skull. A light that is never seen but always felt. In the great holds of the void ship, the brothers kneel in serried ranks. Candles drip wax across the steel floors, their light fragile against the bulkhead shadows. Incense burns, thick and choking, masking the scent of oil and ozone with smoke that clings to armor like a second skin. The chaplain stands at the altar, his crozius raised, his skull helm glaring down like judgment incarnate. His litanies fall heavy, each syllable sharpened into weaponry. The words themselves matter little. What matters is the weight of them, the vibration they leave, the compulsion that follows. Some call it prayer, but the battle brother knows it is more than that. Prayer suggests choice, the act of lifting one's will toward something higher. This is not choice. This is command. Faith claws into the marrow like instinct. Even as he kneels, even as he bows his head, he knows he could not rise if he wished. The voice holds him. The pulse binds him. His body obeys without hesitation, not because he wills it, but because there is no other path. It is not submission. It is compulsion. He remembers his first voyage beyond Terra, when the Astronomican throbbed against his mind for the first time. It was not a voice, not in any language. It was pressure, a heartbeat that was not his own, a light so bright it pressed shadows into every nerve. He had trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. In that moment he understood what the chaplains meant when they said the Emperor was always present. He had expected words, some whisper in the silence of thought. Instead, he felt the crushing certainty of presence, vast and undeniable, like a weight upon the chest that could not be lifted. There are those among the mortal crew who collapse when exposed to the Astronomican's strength. Their skulls split with pain, their senses shatter. Some die outright, their minds burned from within. The battle brother does not fall, but he does not escape it either. The pulse beats within him, behind his helm, beneath his gene-forged organs. It marks him as surely as any scar. At times, he wonders if his loyalty is devotion, or simply the absence of any other possibility. When the Astronomicon thrums, there is no space left for doubt. There is only obedience. Yet there are moments when silence falls, when the warp howls louder than hymns, when even the chaplain's voice falters beneath the weight of distance. Then, the absence presses heavier than steel. In those voids of sound, the battle brother feels something close to fear. Not the fear of death, not the fear of pain, but the fear of being unmoored, cut loose from the pulse that binds all things. Without the Emperor's vibration, the universe feels hollow, a vacuum without order. It is in those moments that prayer becomes choice again. He whispers words, not because compulsion demands it, but because silence terrifies him more than the enemy's blade. The chaplains call this discipline. They say it proves the strength of faith. That in silence the warrior proves his worth by choosing to believe even when nothing answers. But deep within, the battle brother suspects another truth. Faith, for him, is not discipline. It is survival. Without it, the fractures of memory, the weight of ash, the gnawing hunger would consume him. Faith binds those things together, weaving pain into purpose. Without it, he is only flesh and armor, no different from the corpses ground into his ceramite. He recalls campaigns fought in cathedrals bombed to ruin, where statues of the emperor lay shattered across the stone. Even there, with stained glass melted into slag and saints burned into dust, faith endured, not because of what was seen, but because of what was felt. The vibration did not falter. The pulse continued. Even among the rubble, hymns rose. Even amid silence, the marrow sang. Faith did not require walls or words. It required only the endless hum that no fire could consume. Still, doubt lingers like a shadow. Not doubt of the emperor's existence. Such a thought is beyond imagining, but doubt of his own perception. Is what he feels truly the emperor's will, or is it the conditioning of a life stripped of choice? Is the Astronomicon a beacon of divine presence, or simply a machine lit by faith until it burns brighter than truth? He does not voice these questions. To speak them aloud would be heresy. To whisper them to himself is weakness, and yet, in the stillness between vibrations, the questions echo. The chaplain raises his crozius, striking it against the altar. The sound cracks like thunder, and the vibration runs through the assembled ranks. The battle brother bows his head lower, eyes closed, breath steady. The pulse returns. The silence breaks. He feels the hum flood through him, washing away doubt, stitching marrow back into obedience. For now, the compulsion is enough. For now, faith is a rhythm, and he follows it without hesitation. The void ship shudders, a ripple of warp turbulence groaning through the hull. Brothers rise, their hymns still on their lips, their weapons still slick with oils of devotion. The vibration does not falter. The Emperor's voice remains, not as sound, not as word, but as pressure, compulsion, survival. And in that endless hum, the battle brother finds not peace, but purpose. Faith is not a word. Faith is vibration. It binds, it compels, it consumes. What does an Astartes remember of before? The question lingers like a wound that never heals. One probed in the silence between battles, when no hymn or bolter fire can drown it. The past does not return whole. It arrives in fragments, scattered and distorted, as though glimpsed through fractured glass. A face, perhaps, a shadow that might have been a mother's, a sound, distant, muffled, that could have been laughter or weeping, a word once spoken in the tongue of his birth world, its meaning long since he wrote it into dust. These fragments surface unbidden, but never with certainty. He cannot know if they are true or illusions born of longing. The gene seed does not preserve childhood, it scours it. It rebuilds flesh into weapon, marrow into oath. What lingers may be no more than echoes left behind by the scalpel of the apothecary. He recalls cages of iron, narrow and stinking, filled with children pressed shoulder to shoulder. Hunger gnawed, disease festered, and only the strongest endured. Perhaps this was real, or perhaps it is memory rewritten, sharpened into parable by years of retelling within the chapter. He remembers the schola, the drills pounding into bone, the endless cycle of lash and command. Did he learn there, or was that someone else's life folded into his own? And always, there is the apothecarian, the sting of the blade, the invasion of organs, the weight of surgical light pressing down on trembling flesh. Pain burned away the boy. The battle brother rose in his place. If a mother's face once bent above him, it was erased in that moment, discarded as unnecessary flesh. Sometimes, in the stillness of the void ship, he dreams o'er what passes for dreaming. He finds himself standing in a field of dust, a sun burning low on the horizon, wind clawing across barren stone. He knows this place, though he cannot name it. His hands are small, unarmored, unbroken. He feels warmth on his cheek, a sensation so alien it almost startles him awake. Yet even as he reaches for it, the vision fades, crumbling into ash. When he opens his eyes, the bolter rests in his grasp, and the warmth is gone. He tells himself it was illusion. Still, the ache remains, as though some part of him yearns for a past he can never claim. The chaplains say the past is irrelevant. The emperor is father and mother both. The chapter is family, and memory beyond that is indulgence. What came before is weakness, and yet, in the silence, memory intrudes. He does not seek it, but it arrives. The sound of a child crying, the feel of dirt beneath unscarred hands, a wordless voice singing, not in him but in something gentler, something forbidden. Perhaps these fragments are gifts from the emperor, reminders of sacrifice, or perhaps they are curses, fractures in the armor of his soul, reminders that he was once human before he became steel. He remembers one battle when the enemy taunted them, shouting names, claiming to know their birthkin, their lost families. Lies, surely. Psychological warfare meant to unravel their focus. Yet in that moment, a name struck him with such force that he staggered. He had not thought of it before, had not even known it lay hidden. Was it his? Was it another's? The sound carved itself into his marrow, and even after the foe lay dead, the name whispered still. He has never spoken it aloud. He fears that if he does, it will either vanish or claim him entirely. The apothecaries claim their work is precise, that the boy is not erased, but transformed. And yet, as he stares into the reflection of his helm, he wonders if transformation is merely a polite word for annihilation. Was he ever a child? Did he truly run, laugh, bleed as mortals do? Or was he only ever a weapon waiting to awaken, a vessel sculpted for steel long before he understood what he was becoming? The uncertainty gnaws worse than hunger. Hunger is endured. Memory corrupts. Brothers rarely speak of such things. Around the war altar, in the barracks, in the silence of maintenance, they remain as statues. But in the rarest of moments, after campaigns, when exhaustion weighs heavier than ceramite, fragments slip free. A brother hums a tune too simple to be a hymn. Another stares too long into the distance, lips moving silently as though shaping a name. No one questions. No one acknowledges. To draw attention is to risk shattering the fragile wall they have built around what was. Better to carry it in silence, like ashes pressed into armor, unseen but always present. The worst moments come when he sees children on the battlefield, hivers clutching broken toys, feral tribes armed with nothing but stones, orphans scrambling through ruins while artillery shatters the sky. He feels something stir, then something dangerous. Recognition, not of himself exactly, but of what he might have been. He sees in them the reflection of a boy who could have walked another path. Had he not been taken, had the apothecarian's blade not claimed him, that recognition burns hotter than any less fire. It is shame, pity, rage all forbidden, and yet it rises incontrollably before he forces it down beneath chants of devotion. The void ship hums, carrying him forward to another war, another field where memory will be drowned in fire and steel. He tells himself he is what he was meant to be. He tells himself he is weapon, not child, oath, not name. But when silence descends and the bolter lies heavy in his grasp, the shadows of memory press close once more. Were those echoes ever real? Or are they fictions woven by a mind desperate to claim humanity where none remains? He does not know. He may never know. And so he waits, caught between fragments. The shadow of memory clings like ash, always shifting, always uncertain. Perhaps he was never a boy. Perhaps he was always only this, a weapon waiting to awaken. War is not an event. It is not a beginning marked by the first salvo, nor an end sealed by the silence after. War is atmosphere. It clings to the lungs like smoke, seeps into skin through pores, seeps into marrow through breath. It is the taste that never leaves the tongue, metallic and burnt, promethium layered with blood. It is the sound of impact, the thud of ordnance that vibrates inside the chest until heartbeat and explosion blur into one rhythm. For the battle brother, there is no boundary between himself and this atmosphere. He inhales it, exhales it, carries it forward to the next battlefield. He is not merely within war. He becomes part of it, as inseparable from its breath as smoke from fire. Every battlefield shares the same cadence, yet each has its own flavor of ruin. The manufactorum world, choked with oil fumes and iron dust, where the very air was thick with rust, each inhalation like swallowing knives. The jungle moon, where Worf's breath was damp, sweet with decay, every step sinking into soil that exhaled rot. The ash wastes, where the atmosphere itself seemed burned, a constant reminder that the war had ended long before they arrived, leaving only embers to stir. The battle brother does not forget these scents, these textures. They linger, layering over one another until his lungs no longer know clean air. Only war. There are moments when the war is so heavy it feels alive. In the middle of battle, amid smoke and shrieking metal, he feels the battlefield breathe with him. Shells explode, and the air expands with heat. Silence follows, and the vacuum collapses inward. Each detonation, each collapse, like an inhale and exhale. He matches it unconsciously, lungs sinking to the rhythm of destruction. War breathes, and he breathes with it, until the difference between his body and the field dissolves. He is pulse, he is recoil, he is atmosphere given form. The smell of burnt promethium coats everything. It sticks to armor, it stains the tongue, it seeps into memory. He has fought in places where it never cleared, where the air was a constant film of fuel and fire. Mortals gagged, suffocated, clawed at their throats for breath. The Astartes endured, gene-forged lungs filtering poisons that would dissolve lesser men. But endurance is not immunity. The taste never fades, even aboard the void ship, long after the campaign ended. He sometimes wakes with the taste of promethium sharp in his throat, as if war itself followed him into silence, refusing to release him. And there's the smell of flesh, always flesh, shattered, seared, melted. It coats the battlefield thicker than incense, thicker than oil. It is not easily forgotten. In one siege, the reek of burning bodies grew so dense it replaced oxygen, forcing even the rebreathers to choke. The memory of that smell clings even now, as real as the scars etched across his ceramite. No hymn, no incense, no purity seal can cleanse it. It lingers, because war lingers, because war breathes. There are times when the war feels closer than the brothers beside him. In the heat of battle, he cannot always recall who stood to his left, who fell to his right, but he always recalls the haze, the choking density, the taste of ash and fuel. His brothers vanish into memory, their faces blurred into fracture, but war never blurs. War sharpens. It imprints itself deeper than names, deeper than voices. The chaplains claim the bond of brotherhood is eternal, But the battle brother knows a harsher truth. Brotherhood fades into ash. War endures. Even when the guns fall silent, war remains. After the siege ends, after the enemy flees, after the banners are raised, the atmosphere does not clear. It lingers over ruins like fog, seeping into the stones, settling into the soil. Civilians return, rebuilding, praying, surviving. But he knows the truth. The air will never be clean again. The battlefield will always breathe war, even if no soldiers remain. He has walked such places decades later, worlds reconquered, worlds healed, yet still felt it. The faint tang of old Prometheum, the shadow of blood in the dust, the silence of absence that whispers louder than any sermon. At times he wonders if he could survive without it. The void ship hums, the stars slide silently past, the air is filtered, recycled, thin but pure. And yet, in such silence, he feels suffocated. Clean air tastes empty. Absence presses heavier than smoke. He needs the weight of war's breath to feel alive. He needs the haze, the grit, the metallic temps, the ash. Without it, he feels like a hollow shell, armor without marrow. Perhaps this is the Emperor's design. Perhaps the Astartes are not meant for clean air, but only for the choking, living atmosphere of battle. He recalls once, during a rare moment of silence between campaigns, he walked unarmored across the decks of the ship. He paused by an air vent, feeling the stream of filtered breath against his scarred face. It was thin, sterile. For a moment he felt anger, not at the silence, not at the emptiness, but at himself, for yearning for the taste of ash instead. That was the moment he knew there was no returning. Whatever boy once breathed air beneath a sunlit sky was gone. Now there was only the warrior who breathed war. Betrayal, in the Imperium of Man, is more than an act. It is a fracture that ripples outward through centuries, poisoning memory, rewriting history, and reshaping the very way a chapter views itself. The story never ends neatly. A bolt round to the skull, a name stricken from the rolls, a warband annihilated in flame V's, are only surface responses, ritual gestures of control in a galaxy that thrives on uncertainty. For every execution, there is a whisper. For every erasure, a memory that refuses to die. For every war of vengeance, a seed of doubt that continues to grow. The weight falls not only on the traitor, but on all who remain. Brothers who once shared cages and litanies now walk under shadows, forced to question their own faith, their own resilience, their own blood. Chapters carry scars deeper than flesh, scars etched into the gene seed itself, scars inherited by successors who bleed and die for sins they never chose. Even the most loyal cannot escape the gaze of the Imperium's judgment. The ever-watchful eyes of the Inquisition ready to reduce an entire brotherhood to ash if it serves survival. In such a galaxy, loyalty is never rewarded as obligation, constant, absolute, and brittle as glass. And yet, betrayal is never confined to a single life. It echoes. It lingers in the silence where a statue once stood, in the gap at a feast where a brother's voice should rise, in the dreams of librarians who hear names that no longer exist. It spreads into the warp, where no secret is ever truly buried, where doubt becomes substance and memory becomes weapon. Traitors may be erased from record, obliterated from flesh, but the warp remembers, and through it, the galaxy remembers, twisting their fates into myths that no chapter can control. Some believe the betrayer's fate is oblivion, nameless dust scattered into void, a life erased so fully it can never be mourned. Others insist betrayal is the road to apotheosis, that those who turn to the gods of the warp find not death but transformation, monstrous yet immortal. Still others tell stories of those who vanish into half-life, exiles adrift in the endless dark, neither loyalist nor heretic. Condemned to wander as ghosts, the Imperium pretends never existed. Each of these fates may be true, each may be false, The only certainty is that none of them offer peace. For the Imperium, this uncertainty becomes both shield and blade. To the billions who live under its banners, the tale of the betrayer is not meant to comfort, but to terrify. It is a reminder that loyalty is fragile, that vigilance must be eternal, that even angels can fall. Chaplains thunder these stories as warnings, captains carry them as fuel for vengeance, inquisitors wield them as justification for purges and silence, and through it all, the people of the Imperium believe, because they must believe. Because doubt is death, and faith, no matter how brittle, is the only thing that keeps the galaxy from collapse. But in that belief lies a deeper unease. For if even the most sacred can fall, then what certainty exists at all? If an oath sworn in blood and gene seed can be broken, then every oath, everywhere, is fragile. The Imperium silences this thought, drowns it in litanies and flame, but silence does not erase. It never has. The burden of memory ensures it never will. So what is the fate of the betrayer? It is many things: oblivion, apotheosis, exile, erasure, a shadow that taints successors long after the original sin, a whisper in the warp that mocks prayers and shatters certainty, a scar carried by brothers who survive, a silence that speaks louder than sermons, a curse that stretches across centuries. There is no single fate, no neat ending, no clean answer. Betrayal is a wound that never closes, a question that never finds resolution, and perhaps that is the cruelest truth of all. For in a galaxy that demands absolutes, faith or heresy, loyalty or treason, life or death, the betrayer proves that certainty is a lie, that even angels of death can falter, that even the most sacred oaths can fracture, that even the Imperium's myths are shadows, trembling against the fire of doubt. The betrayer never truly dies. His echo remains, in memory, in silence, in suspicion, in the warp itself. His fate is never his alone, but the burden of all who called him brother, of all who share his bloodline, of all who fight in his shadow. The Imperium may erase, but erasure breeds whispers. The Inquisition may purge, but purges breed questions. The warp may exalt, but exaltation breeds fear. And so the betrayer endures. Long after his body is ashdot, this is the fate beyond loyalty, not resolution, not closure, but echo. A story retold across stars and centuries, shaping those who live as much as those who fall. A fate never singular, never closed, always lingering in the spaces between oath and silence. In this way, betrayal is not merely punished. It is immortal, and it will haunt the Imperium until the very last star burns out.